to Something Witchy, a Sabrina the Teenage Witch rewatch podcast. I am Laura Cotter.
And I'm Skye Orchard.
And we're so glad to have you back for this, what I think will be an amazing episode. It's not necessarily the best episode of Sabrina we've watched so far, but I think this will be the best episode of our podcast so far.
Can we beat Mando, though?
I'm going to do my darndest to try. I'm very excited about talking about this because I had a lot of thoughts. So, Skye, what would you say to me if I said to you, shake your whammy fanny?
I would say, are you on drugs?
You're supposed to say funky song, funky song.
Oh. My bad.
It's okay. We will talk at length about that song. I will sing it repeatedly. I'm very excited. But my real question for you, Skye, I want you to tell me which of Aunt Vesta's hats was your favorite hat in this episode? Not necessarily for you to wear, but if you would like to wear one, that is also fine. Just what was your favorite hat?
I am trying to remember all of Aunt Vesta's hats now.
So we got the white one with the little veil. We have her gray one. And then also I will throw in Sabrina's little red number, her white spa wrap, this black and white thing, her weird leather
Definitely leather police cap. That wins. You know what I feel like she's missing that she would rock, and that is one of my favorite hats?
Huh.
An umbrella hat. Think how fun and funky that would be.
It would have to be a pretty fancy umbrella. Like, it'd have to be like a parasol hat, I think, for Aunt Vesta.
Tassels hanging down or something.
Yes. My favorite Vesta hat is the gray hat, simply because it goes so amazingly well with the rest of her outfit. And that outfit, I want somebody to bring that out for a Met Gala one year. Like, that outfit is amazing.
I wonder what the Met Gala theme would have to be.
Seldom talked about relatives on 90s sitcoms.
90s velour.
There's so much to discuss in this episode. There was so much in the episode in and of itself. Like, there were a lot of jokes that you almost missed because they were so fast and they're going through stuff so much. So this is gonna be a long one. I think this one may break our 1 hour podcast timing. Let's get into it without further ado.
Yes, all 10 pages.
So this is Season 1, Episode 7, titled Third Ant from the Sun, which is a play off of Third Rock from the Sun, which debuted 11 months earlier in January of 1996. Our description for this episode is, as fun Aunt Vesta, Raquel Welch shows Sabrina how the other realm half lives. It originally aired on November 8th, 1996. Directed again by Carrie Halverson and written by Salem the Cat's voice, Nick Bakay.
OMG.
Which may explain why there's just so much into this episode. Thank you, Nick, for this gem. Our guest stars are first and foremost Raquel Welch as Vesta. I didn't know much about Raquel Welch because I wasn't around in the 60s and 70s, but based on my research, she was apparently a huge sex symbol of the 60s. We may know her from Legally Blonde. She was also in the 1973 The Three Musketeers, 1 Million Years BC, and the 1966 Fantastic Voyage. Sadly, she did pass away about a little over a year ago on February 15th, 2023.
Is she going to be a reoccurring character?
I don't think we ever see her again.
She seems familiar.
They do talk about her. They do reference Vesta a lot, but I don't think we ever see her again. We also have Braden Marcotte as Cletus from things such as Murder, She Wrote, Mr. Belvedere, Coach, Sister 24, Angel, Alias, Gilmore Girls, Numbers, Castles, Bones, NCIS, Los Angeles, basically everything. Jim Childs is the boombox student, uncredited in this episode, from Melrose Place, Third Rock from the Sun, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and a short film called Space Grandma.
Okay, I was IMDbing a little bit, and I saw the poster for that, and we have to add that to our, to watch movie night list. It's a short, so we'll have enough time to, double feature it, triple feature it.
Maybe if there's, a particularly short episode of Sabrina that we just don't have a lot to talk about, we'll throw that at the end.
Love it.
We also have Stacey Owens, who is an uncredited student as well, from things like Party of Five, Melrose Place, Seinfeld. Was also mostly known for being an assistant on shows, so Friends with Benefits, 7 Pounds, and No Country for Old Men. Also, of note, Diane Kennedy was nominated for the 1997 Emmy Award for Outstanding Costume Design for a series for this episode. And that's why I kind of chose to talk about the hats, because boy, can you tell that this was a costume-heavy episode.
Yes.
And I love the thought of them going to Diane Kennedy and just being like, witches in outer space. How would you dress them?
And Go.
And go. All right, Skye. We already know what my thoughts are of this episode. What are your overall thoughts for this episode?
That was a funky, otherworldly episode there. That song will never leave my head.
So on a scale of Rudy Kazooie to Dream Date Mando episode, where does this one fall?
It's not as horrifying as Dream Date Mando. I think I have to rate it slightly under Dream Date Mando. Sometimes it's the terrors that truly make an episode, I guess.
And I just unilaterally decided that those were the best and worst episodes we've done so far. I don't care what your opinion is.
I mean, it checks out.
Our cold open. By the way, we're not going to get through this cold open without a major off-topic rant. So this is going to set the stage for this episode. Our cold open starts with Sabrina arguing with Zelda about getting a belly button piercing. It's my belly button, Sabrina says. It's our belly button, Zelda says, very communistically. You can have it back when you turn 18. Hilda says she can't believe Sabrina is still asking to hang keys from her navel. Hilda warns that she'll regret it. She had to wait 2 centuries to remove the Cromwell Rules tattoo from her shoulder. That's not where it was, Zelda pipes up. So, which of the 3 things in my head should we start? We'll start with the 2 shorter ones. Where does Hilda actually have a Cromwell Rules tattoo if not on her shoulder?
Well, used to have, right?
Used to have. Where did she get that tattooed at?
Oh, that's a tramp stamp all the way.
Number 2, I'm assuming we're talking about Oliver Cromwell, who was an English politician from 1599 to 1658. So she had to wait 200 years to get it removed. Let's say benefit of the doubt she got it in like the mid 1600s. How did she get a tattoo removed in the 1800s, in the mid 1800s?
It's a show about magic, Laura. I'm going to say magic.
Then why did she have to wait? Why couldn't they magic it away back in the 1600s?
Maybe the spell wasn't invented yet. Maybe they had to craft a spell to remove a tattoo.
The third longer point. Overall, this is an alert about the aunt's ages. Because, like, how old do we think she was when she got the tattoo? If we're 1599 to 1658, like, was she 18 when she got it? Was she, like, the witch equivalent of 18? How does legality and tattooing work with the witches back in the 1600s? That's a different discussion. My bigger discussion is why would a witch get a Cromwell Rules tattoo? What do you know about Oliver Cromwell, Skye?
Isn't he like a Puritan British dude?
Kind of. He wasn't super Puritan-y, though. Like, he actually didn't, there's not any, like, real record of him having any belief in witches. It seems to lean more towards that he didn't actually believe witches were a thing. So I went on a deep dive of some British history / Scottish history, and this is why I think she got her Cromwell Rules tattooed. In 1649 to 1650, there was something called the Great Scottish Witch Hunt, where over 300 witches were executed. When Oliver Cromwell invaded Scotland in July of 1650, that officially ended the Great Scottish Witch Hunt. From 1650 to 1660 was Cromwell's Commonwealth period, and the witch hunts really died down. Now, during 1660, there was the restoration of Charles II, and almost immediately in 1661, the second Great Scottish Witch Hunt began, where 660 people were accused of witchcraft.
Boo, Charles II. Boo.
This is why a teenage witch would have a Cromwell Rules tattoo in the mid 1600s, because he effectively ended witch trials in Scotland for a period of 10 years.
Or even better, depending on what age they actually are, an adult witch with a tramp stamp that says Cromwell Rules.
I mean, I feel like this is more like 18 to 20-year-old territory.
Oh, agreed, but if Parthenon is a thing, I don't know. Timeline. It's wonky.
I was really excited to learn this. I like learning things. I thought it was a fun little segue. It was just like a very like throwaway joke. Then I started thinking about it. I'm like, why would that make sense? And at first I did think it was like a different type of joke, that he was like a witch hunter and that's why she was embarrassed by it. And it was like, no, he was actually like, chill with the witches. Go Cromwell. Let's all get Cromwell Rules tattoos. Can we make that our first merch? Can we make temporary tattoos that say Cromwell Rules?
Put it wherever you would want.
Back to where we were. We got 2 minutes into the cold open. So Zelda says these things go in and out of style, and Sabrina is built for the long haul, which is very long, apparently, based off the ants' lives. Sabrina says she can wait 2 years, and then she'll have everything pierced. She walks out the door, and Zelda zaps her. Sabrina comes in sporting a bone through her nose, saying, "Very funny," in a nasally voice, and tells the ants to remove the bone, but they refuse. "I'm not going to school like this," she says, very bravely still going to school with 2 clips and 2 ponytails in her hair.
As a half witch and half mortal, do you think her life is half?
I'm willing to bet it's not the same length as her ants' lives.
Seems like a solid bet right there.
Purely for the fact that she ages in this show at a normal rate. Minus the weird added year of high school that we'll figure it out as we get to that. We have our outfit intro. This time it is an army outfit. Sabrina says, "It's camouflage. I'm over here," which may be the worst outfit intro so far.
It was bad.
Sabrina is in the school hallway singing "Shake Your Whammy, Fanny, funky song, funky song." And Jenny comes up and asks what she's singing. FYI, this is not a real song. Back in 1996, we did not have Google. We could not ask our phones to tell us what song was playing. So I, for sure, thought that was a real song and thought that for decades. I did not know it's not a real song until I looked it up for this podcast and realized it's not a real song, but it is. It's for this show, but not a real song.
But it sounds like a real song in our universe.
It sounds like a real song from 1996.
Conspiracy theory time.
Okay.
If we did get split into an alternate dimension with the Hadron Collider, I believe the other dimension, this was a real song because it feels too real. I'm trying to figure out the real song equivalent that it is, but my brain's not figuring it out. So audience, if you know, please write in because it is going to drive me nuts. End of conspiracy.
Reopening conspiracy, though, because you're telling me we're in the timeline where not only did we get Donald Trump as a president, but we lost the Whammy Fanny song? This is the worst timeline.
But it's also the timeline that makes sense. If we have to lose one, we're gonna get the other.
Can I jump over to the other timeline? Who's president in that timeline? Is this why Hillary lost? Because we lost the Whammy Fanny song?
Or did we get Bernie?
Would this have been one of their campaign songs?
Oh my gosh, I would vote. Third-party candidates out there, you have till November to implement this. You will have my vote.
You heard, Skye. Robert Kennedy, start shaking your Whammy Fanny.
The spot in his brain that the wormate can be filled with this song instead.
One other note, this song had to be censored in some of the airings in the UK because of the word fanny.
That checks out.
I don't remember what they said. I can't remember what but it was just, they didn't use the word fanny. This song becomes a running gag used throughout the series, which I think is also what attributed to me believing that it was an actual real song at the age of 8.
I don't know, it just seems too real. Also, I'm assuming you know what fanny is slang for in the UK.
I read romance novels. Of course I know.
Okay, just checking in.
I've been on Tumblr.
I don't think it's a Cards Against Humanity card, so just had to check it. Could be, though.
Honestly, that interpretation makes the song better, I think. So Jenny asks her what she's singing. Sabrina says nothing. They start walking to science class, and Jenny asks Sabrina if she wants to go to a movie on Saturday night. Sabrina says it has to be an early show because her curfew is midnight. Jenny says Sabrina is lucky that her aunts are strict. Her parents are really relaxed and it makes it hard to rebel. So what qualifies as an early show if we have to be home by midnight? Is an early show 9 p.m.?
I know this because I worked at a movie theater for a little bit there. I double jobbed it like a true millennial. We would normally have a show starting at 5, and then the last show in that segment would normally start around 7:45. Then the next block would be around your 8 to 10, and then you would occasionally have midnights programmed as well.
So what is an early show then? What early show? Early shows you're saying then are from 5 to 8-ish, before 8.
Yes.
That's plenty of time to watch a movie and get back home by midnight, even accounting for public transportation.
Also, most theaters consider the 5 o'clock show still matinee pricing. It's after 6 that you go to full pricing, unless that's changed. Money-saving tip right there.
It was also 1996 where most movies, 2 hours was a long movie in 1996. Most were still around 90 minutes, I would say. 90 minutes to 100 minutes, weren't they?
Yeah, I'd say so.
So, what? Okay, maybe they're getting up to some shenanigans after the movie that they can't discuss on ABC. I'm confused by what early show means. Granted, I am old. Early show to me is 5. Early show to them is 9. And also, midnight is a pretty late curfew for a 16-year-old.
I do think the early show for them would be 9 because obviously they're going to go to the slicery first, as is established as the hangout place, and eat first and then chill, shake their whammy fannies, whatever it is. and then head to the movie.
Like I said, we are not going to get through a scene without a tangent in this episode. They walk into the science classroom to the funky song playing and everyone dancing. And there is a kid in a dark shirt that you can see through the doorway that is giving Nurse from the Halloween episode dance energy and is just A+. Also, as we're in the classroom, there is a large number of vests and layered shirts in this scene. I think this woman won the costume design Emmy solely based on the amount of fabric in this show, in this episode. There's just so much. There are like 3 kids, only 3 kids that have 1 layer on in this classroom.
I mean, in the timeline of the show, it's fall now, right? So they're bundling up.
Yeah, but nobody's wearing a coat. I guess they're in the lockers.
Where does this even take place?
Massachusetts.
Oh, I was thinking California this entire time.
No. We're in the Northeast. There's also, surprisingly, some diversity in this classroom for a 1996 sitcom.
Appreciate that they're starting to get a diverse background there. Let's continue that, please, Sabrina, with maybe a main character eventually. I can hope.
We do see some racial diversity. Not a ton, but some. So Sabrina and Jenny join Harvey and start dancing until Mr. Poole comes in and kills the mood. He complains about the music and says that back in his day, they had good music. Harvey replies that he thought Mr. Poole grew up in the 70s. And Mr. Poole immediately retracts his statement, which is my second long tangent. First point. In real life, Paul Feig, I think that's how you say his last name, Paul Feig, we're going with that, was writing Freaks and Geeks during this time on Sabrina. Freaks and Geeks was based on his experience growing up in the 70s and featured some great 70s music. Second of all, the 70s had some iconic music, like Bohemian Rhapsody, I Will Survive, Staying Alive, September, More Than a Feeling, My Sharona, Stairway to Heaven, all certified 70s jams. In fact, I got so wound up during this part of the show. I paused it, I texted both my parents, and I said, give me your top 5 favorite songs from the 70s. And I have my parents' top 5 favorite songs from the 70s. Are you ready for my parents' top 5 70s songs?
Of course. Bring it, Bill and Pam.
So my dad's top 5 favorites are Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody, which obviously duh, Pink Floyd's Comfortably Numb, Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven, Pink Floyd's Another Brick in the Wall, and the Beatles' Let It Be, which are all very my father. My mom's top 5 favorites are anything by Elton John, but especially Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, Tony, Orlando, and Dawn Knock 3 Times, which, do you know that song, Skye?
I don't know it by name. Maybe if I listen to it.
It's a song about 2 people who live in apartments that are like by each other, and it's about knocking on the pipe to signal if you want a booty call. And I'm a little disturbed that it's in my mom's top 5.
Evening before I graduated college, and we were hanging out with my family in a hotel room, and somehow both of my grandmas started talking about this song about the green door. Might have been around this time, it might have been 60s too, that was about marijuana. And they were just like, oh, we really liked that song. We didn't realize it was about pot. These 2 very conservative religious ladies. So
I guarantee they knew it was about pot. They probably were just like, we can't let them know that we knew it was about pot.
maybe.
I mean, like, when my children ask me what WAP is about, I'm not going to tell them that I know. It's about cats. What are you talking about?
It's a wireless access point. In my tech world, just wireless access point. The end.
Back to my mother's list. Third, Chicago, Color My World. The New Sinkers, I'd Like to Teach the World to Sing, which she just called the Coca-Cola song, and I had to figure it out from there. And then Tina Turner's Proud Mary, which is also an amazing song. So there are 10 very good 70s songs. Don't knock 70s music.
Just scratching the surface, too.
Just scratching the surface. So, like, sit down, Harvey. Like, okay, no.
Do you think there's a Kids Bops That's So 70s songs?
I don't know, but now I want to find out.
I judge everything by, has Kids Bop done it yet? Apparently Kids Bops is in the hundreds now. I remember one is like 16.
It's called Kids Bop Gold.
Oh.
A collection of classic 60s and 70s singles sung by kids for kids.
I want to know the editing on those songs.
There's Yellow Submarine by the Beatles, which I feel like you don't need to edit much, but you just can't admit you know what it's about.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are all pretty already. So it's like Here Comes the Sun, Dancing in the Street, How Sweet It Is by Marvin Gaye, which, like, anything by Marvin Gaye, even if it lyrically wise, it's fine. Like, you got to be careful about how you sing a Marvin Gaye song.
Oh.
Happy Together by the Turtles. You've Got a Friend by James Taylor. Hooked on a Feeling. You Are the Sunshine of My Life. Teach Your Children. Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head. Yeah, it's decent. It's nothing too.
Be Braver, Kids Bop.
Yeah, come on. Do Knock 3 Times, Kids Bop. What is it even this episode? Are we done? Can we just call this the episode?
Yeah, and the rest of the episode, we're just gonna jam to some 70s song and some Whammy Fanny.
I ranted about a 16th century, 17th century English politician. I ranted about some 70s music. We're done.
Oh, we haven't gotten to the Opium Dream yet.
Okay. Today in science class, they're talking about the body's largest organ, the skin. He starts talking about the layers of the skin while itching his body. He feels like he's wearing a burlap unitard. He runs out of the room itching. Sabrina asks what they're supposed to do now, and Harvey tells her that once Mr. Poole has been gone for 5 minutes, they can ditch, which is definitely an excuse I have used in college many times.
Yeah, that's a universal rule.
100%. It's been 5 minutes, hasn't it? So they all get up and start to leave when a woman in a red suit walks in telling them to sit. Stay. Good. She introduces herself as their substitute teacher, Vesta, and Aries. She asks where their teacher left off and points at Harvey. Flustered, he manages to get out that they were talking about skin.
Ooh, risque.
Which is less sexy and more serial killer-y, Harvey. Vesta responds, always moisturize and use an exfoliant. Sabrina raises her hand and asks what moisturizing has to do with science. Vesta says that science isn't everything.
Did you feel personally attacked with that statement, Laura?
Yes, but Sabrina was also personally attacked, so I was okay with it because I knew Sabrina had my back. Vesta says, what about beauty and art and culture? Why do we have to focus on science? Because this is biology, replies Sabrina, which confirms that this is indeed a biology class and not a general science class, so I hope you feel vindicated, Skye.
Yes. I'm gonna throw in some Vindicated by Dashboard Confessional.
Ooh, can I start singing? No, I'm not gonna start singing because I can't remember the lyrics off the top of my head.
Can't even remember the Vindicated chorus.
I'm vindicated. I'm selfish. I'm wrong.
That was great.
If they want biology, Vesta will give them biology, and they should listen carefully. We fade to the end of the lesson where there is a detailed drawing of what appears to be a cell, and Vesta saying, the thermoblast joins the radials, which I think explains it all. And those are just made-up terms, and that cell drawing is wildly inaccurate, and the kid in the blue plaid at the back of the classroom's face is amazing.
That cell drawing sort of looks like the cartoonish germ drawings of that time. I don't know if you can picture in your head, but like the green guy with the frowny face.
Like the Mucinex monster?
Oh, maybe. But in like a 2D squiggly, I don't know.
Okay. All right.
I could be gaslighting myself. I feel like I do that frequently, so.
We thought Whammy Fanny was a real song, so you know what?
True.
Anything is possible.
The germ existed in an alternate dimension, I swear. Gonna be my excuse for everything.
I was reading something the other day. The internet is a wild place. That was like a bunch of baby boomer generation people saying that the Mandela effect wasn't actually real. It was just the like shadow government's way of convincing the baby boomers that they're all crazy.
Okay, that's a theory.
And that they were actually right about all the things that they remembered, and it's just that the deep state had changed everything on them.
Were you reading on Reddit?
I don't remember where I read it. I think this may have been a Facebook thing.
I can see that kind of post being on both of those there.
Well, that's all for today.
And with that, Opium Dream.
That was my next line. That's all for today, and they should forget everything she said. The bell rings and the class is dismissed, except for Sabrina. Sabrina wonders what she did, and Jenny says she doesn't know, but if Sabrina isn't out in 5 minutes, she's notifying the school paper. Sabrina does not feel reassured because the school paper is a weekly. Vesta comes over and tells Sabrina they need to talk. Sabrina asks if she did something wrong, and Vesta says yes, then giggles and takes off her glasses, asking if Sabrina recognizes her. Sabrina is confused and asks if she should. Vesta gives her a hint by snapping her fingers and changing her outfit, announcing she is Sabrina's Aunt Vesta. She also has some cool theme music and or special effects whenever she uses magic, which is awesome. Also, this family, these children's names, Hilda, Zelda, Vesta, and Edward. Did they hate the girls? Did they hate Edward? And that's why he didn't get a special name. They could have gotten like at least a little creative with him, but whatever. Also, that like, I'm going to give you a hint, Sabrina. Snap, I'm Aunt Vesta. Like, didn't even give her a chance to re-guess. Just like, I'm just going to tell you. Sabrina puts it together and guesses that Vesta is from her father's side of the family. Vesta carries a photo of her carrying Sabrina as a baby. Sabrina recognizes Aunt Hilda and Aunt Zelda and Andy Warhol. Would you let Andy Warhol hold or be near your baby, Skye?
No.
Vesta says those were the good times, and the 80s are always the best decade of every century, so everybody's strapping for the next 60 years then, because it's not getting better. Sabrina says she'd love to stay and talk, but she needs to get to class. Vesta tells her they have a lot of catching up to do and wonders where they can get a good cup of coffee. Oh, she knows. Paris. She zaps them to a cafe looking at the Eiffel Tower. Sabrina says the weirdest thing is she's missing French class to be there. Vesta corrects her. That's not the weirdest thing. No, never mind. What on earth does Aunt Vesta consider so weird that she can't talk about it with her 16-year-old niece, given everything else she has said and done thus far?
We'll never know.
We'll never know. I have some guesses that are probably not appropriate to talk about on this podcast. But Vesta is a woman of many layers.
Like an onion.
Sabrina worries that she should have told somebody she left the country. Vesta tells her to drink her giant bowl of coffee and relax.
That's the millennial dream right there. Giant bowl of coffee and being able to relax. Never get it. It's just a dream.
Sabrina is already vibrating after 3 sips, and her aunts never let her drink coffee. Oh yes, the evil bean, which is how I am referring to coffee from here on out.
I will embrace the evil every morning then.
Like, we need to start a coffee company that's called the Evil Bean or something.
Yes, make some mugs that say the evil bean.
Vesta says she's sure her aunts are full of can'ts and don'ts, like, don't stay up too late in Hilda's voice, and no, you can't get a tattoo in Zelda's voice. Sabrina notes that she sounds just like them, and Vesta says they lived together for 200 years, which is another aunt age clue. So they lived together for 200 years. Does that mean they're not fully adults until 200? Is 200 they're 18? Or did they just live together for a long time, like Hilda and Zelda are currently living together?
200 is the breaking point for Vesta.
You know what? Good for her. A lot of people wouldn't give it 200 years.
Practicing healthy boundaries eventually. And say no thank you.
But they're very, very different. Hilda and Zelda actually enjoy living on Earth, and Vesta can't stand mortals for too long.
Same, Vesta. Same.
Sabrina points out that she's half mortal, and Vesta says there's nothing wrong with that, but mortals have to work so hard for everything. It makes them bitter. True.
Yep.
Sabrina says like her teacher, Mr. Poole. Then she asks what Vesta did to him. Vesta gave him a 24-hour bug. Cut to Mr. Poole in his bathroom screaming as he is being attacked by a giant bug.
That bug costume right there. You can notice as the bug is slowly inching towards him and backing him into the shower that you can actually see the actors underneath his neck several times in a gap between the costume and the mask.
This is why she was just nominated for the Emmy. Cut back to the cafe. Vesta says witches can avoid reality if they choose. That's why Vesta lives in the Pleasure Dome.
Ready for an opium-filled tangent?
Oh my gosh, yes, I'm ready for your tangent. I just looked at it. Okay, let's go.
Okay, so for the life of me, probably just like Whammy Fanny, Pleasure Dome triggered something in my brain, and I'm like, I've heard this before. And so I looked it up, and the first Western reference, at least, of Pleasure Dome was in a poem that was written in 1797 by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. It's called Kubla Khan, or A Vision in a Dream. Now, that poem wasn't actually published until 1816, however, because this poem came to him one night after he experienced an opium-influenced dream after reading a work describing the Mongol dynasty in China established by Kublai Khan. And then after he woke up, he started writing the lines of the poetry. He intended to have about 200 to 300 lines in there, but he forgot them as he was writing, / he got interrupted by a knock at the door. So he didn't publish it because it's only 3 stanzas long, but he would entertain his friends with his opium dream. And then finally, name drop, his friend Lord Byron was like, hey, publish that. So he finally published it because Lord Byron said so. But Pleasure Dome has then been referenced via this poem. It was a name of nightclub, a rail car, an album, and then Van Halen has a song as well, so maybe I'm just remembering Van Halen. But that is your Pleasure Dome. Tangent. Gotta love some opium.
So how long did it end up being? Was it still only 3 stanzas or did he write more?
No, it's only the 3 stanzas because he couldn't remember his dream after he was interrupted.
That's it. Wow.
And he didn't like take more opium. I mean, if you've already committed, like commit.
There's no guarantee you're going to get the same opium dream twice.
Could try at least.
If at first you don't succeed, try opium again and again.
Yeah, we should get a sticker of that. You'll notice that this is the only poem in his work that's like this. All the rest of his poems are like a complete 180 from this opium dream poem.
What's a 180 from an opium dream poem? Like some Robert Frost?
Maybe. I didn't actually go and read any of his other poems. I just read the Pleasure Dome poem.
Well, I feel like we need to... How long is this thing? Can I read this on a... Oh, no, it's too long to read.
I swear it was only like 5 lines a stanza.
It's a decent length. Like, it would take a few minutes, so I'm not reading it.
Well, audience, look it up.
Yeah, this reads as an opium dream. All right. You know what? You go, Coleridge. This also sounds like the times when I was in college and I would try to solve math problems in my dreams, and I'd wake up and be like, oh, I got the answer. And then I'd start writing it down. I'd be like, that is gibberish. That's not real math.
Math dreams. What a nerd.
Don't write poetry or math from your dreams, opium or otherwise. Vesta says that's why she lives in the Pleasure Dome in the other realm and tells Sabrina she can come visit, but Sabrina doesn't think her aunts will let her. Vesta will just have to convince them. At home, Hilda and Zelda are arguing over a chair in their living room and keep zapping it between 2 different styles, both of which are terrible.
I would say the original style is the better of the 2 terrible styles.
Is that the floral or is that the weird, almost denim-y looking one?
Denim gray.
Okay. But it looks like it's been sat in 5,000 times. It's so saggy looking.
It could go 2 ways. It either has a pleasing texture to that fabric, or it's the fabric like microfibery that gets in your fingers and makes me shudder. I'm gonna go with it's a pleasing fabric, and maybe it's like the fabric you can make the swirls on and then wipe it away and then draw again and then wipe it away. I like those fabrics.
This was not an intentional tangent either. It's just
Not at
an
all.
organic tangent.
100% certified organic, peeps.
Salem sticks his head in and says Sabrina's school is on the phone. She missed her last 5 classes. So Salem's just taking phone calls from the school, just talking to people on the phone. They're probably wondering who this man is.
Just see him wearing his little spectacles. I don't know if we've seen him in spectacles yet, but I feel like I've seen a photo of him in spectacles while he's taking these calls, and he's like Secretary Salem. He's also probably bored out of his mind, so at least calls and drama is something to give him his day.
Let's say Harvey calls and Salem picks up the phone. And then Harvey says to Sabrina, hey, who was that guy who answered your phone?
She says a random family member, or Harvey just manages to forget with his golden retriever brain.
Maybe Salem should stay away from the phone.
Harvey's too focused on the Spellman's mailbox. Then who's answering the phone?
Hilda and Zelda get worried because that's not like Sabrina. Where could she be? What if she's in trouble? Just then, Sabrina walks in wearing an Audrey Hepburn Breakfast at Tiffany's outfit, which is from the title sequence. Hilda says she's in big trouble. When she comes in, by the way, she just, again, dumps a bunch of stuff on the grand piano and puts all of her shopping bags on it. Let's maybe not treat the very expensive musical instrument as a piece of furniture, friends.
Couldn't they just magically fix it, though?
It's the principle of the thing, Skye.
Sorry. And that's how our friendship ended.
Zelda asks where she's been and what is she wearing. Sabrina says she went to Paris with Aunt Vesta. Vesta, Hilda and Zelda say in unison. Just then, Vesta walks in carrying 2 small gifts for the aunts. Gum? asks a disappointed Hilda. It's French. Zelda asks what she's doing there. She vowed never to set foot on Earth again. Vesta says she had to come see Sabrina. Hilda points out that Sabrina's supposed to be in school. Vesta says they did try to make her last class, but they stopped in Milan for gelato. Sabrina pipes up with a, you have to, with a wrist flick and a bad accent, and Hilda gives it back to her with a, no you don't. You have to tell people when you run off to Europe for snacks. And you can't just take Sabrina out of school, Zelda adds. Vesta sighs. She's only here 5 seconds and they're already full of can'ts and don'ts. Doesn't anything ever change around here? Zelda zaps the chair to the new style she wanted. They got new fabric for the chair. Vesta, it's mayhem, which is like a really short line that doesn't actually get acknowledged because she says it kind of quietly, but I kind of like her like, oh yes, you changed your fabric on your chair. It's mayhem here. Sabrina apologizes to Hilda and Zelda for not calling and asks to keep the clothes. Zelda tells her all right, but she needs to call Jenny and get her homework and start doing it. Sabrina goes off to do just that, while Vesta says she's a sweet girl, so hungry for life, which is surprising based on the example Hilda and Zelda are setting for her. Zelda protests that they're setting a fine example. They have a loving home filled with discipline and responsibility. But what about fun? They have fun, Hilda says. In fact, this weekend, Zelda has been invited to Texas for a very important meeting on the Super Collider, so there. The phone rings and Hilda offers to get it. It's probably somebody fun. Vesta doubts that. Vesta asks who invited Zelda to Texas. The visual engineers for the study of theoretical activity. Vesta says theoretical activity is better than no activity at all. Hilda comes running back in saying she's just been asked to play the Conniff Trio in Orlando on Saturday. And again, this is one of those things I was like, oh, it's probably a real thing. There is not. There is no real Conniff Trio. But the story editor of Sabrina for this episode is Frank Conniff, aka the man who played Rudy Kazooie. Rudy Kazooie continues to haunt us.
I was just about to say that same thing. No, take your tookies and go.
Get out of here, Kazooie. No one wants you here. Hilda says she needs to pack, but Zelda points out she can't just take off. She's going to Texas this weekend and they can't leave Sabrina alone. Hilda says they'll find someone she can stay with. Both slowly look at Vesta, who offers to be of help. Sabrina comes back down and says Jenny told her she has to read 50 pages by Monday. Zelda asks how Sabrina would feel about spending the weekend at Vesta's Pleasure Dome since Hilda and Zelda need to work this weekend. Sabrina would love to, but doesn't want to seem too enthusiastic or else they may not let her. Hilda assures her it's fine and would help them. In that case, yes! And Sabrina lets out a signature woohoo, which I think is only the second one we have seen so far in the series. We should do a woohoo tracker. There is a season where it's a lot. It's a lot of woohooing.
I'll be very hydrated that season then. I end up drinking to wahoos.
I don't think there's necessarily a ton per episode. There's just a ton in the season.
I'll do a full glass of water every woohoo, and that way I'm meeting my water quotas at least for that day.
We'll have to keep pausing the episode so we can all go pee.
Yeah.
Sabrina and Vesta arrive in the Pleasure Dome, a pink-tinted space filled with odd-shaped velvet furniture and many doors, so Skye would hate it based on the furniture alone.
Yes, that is not pleasing to touch.
You need to come sit on my purple couch. I don't think you're going to like it. You can sit in one of the gray chairs afterwards.
Oh, there's a reason I sit on the floor mainly.
Okay.
Yours, not.
Have you been to my house since the purple couch came?
Yes, I believe so. At least once.
Servants come and take their bags as Vesta welcomes Sabrina to the Pleasure Dome and snaps them into new outfits. Sabrina's outfit is from her Clueless intro, which was from a few episodes ago. There is only one rule in the Pleasure Dome. No mortals as seen in a flashing neon sign. Sabrina is fine with that. This is a great place and guesses that Vesta is really into doors. Vesta says that behind each door is a wish fulfilled and tells Sabrina to take a look. Sabrina opens the door to find a bunch of teens dancing at a concert to the Whammy Fanny song. Sabrina and Vesta start dancing as well. Sabrina asks if it is what she thinks it is, and Vesta confirms that she's backstage at a Brothers Chunk concert.
Now, while the Brothers Chunk do not exist in this dimension, there is a 2000s band called the Chunk Brothers that does electronic music. It's very synthy, default club music. If I were making a soundscape, that would be like background club music for your imagination there of what it sounds like.
Do you think the Chunk Brothers are Sabrina fans? And that's where they got their name from?
Maybe. They also might be self-published because it said that they were published under Chunk Records, and then I could not find a Chunk Records on the internet. So
if anyone listening to this has a connection to Chunk Records or the Chunk Brothers, could you please get them in contact with us so we can either confirm or deny their knowledge of Sabrina?
Thank you.
PSA. All right, so they're backstage at a Brothers Chunk concert. That exclaims Sabrina with a PH, and I have not heard anybody say that in decades, and I loved it.
Was fat a phrase during the 90s?
Mm-hmm.
Or was that before?
No, yeah, it was still around. Remember Baby Fat? Do you remember the brand Baby Fat?
No.
Okay. There's a brand called Baby Fat. It was like Juicy Couture before Juicy Couture was Juicy Couture. They have the thing on the name on the butt of the velour pants. Yeah, anyway. Fat was a thing, and I think we need to bring it back. Teach those Gen Alpha kids a lesson.
You can bring it back. I will support you in your bringing it back. Will I ever say it? TBD.
We're going to hashtag this episode, hashtag fat. PH fat. Fat! Exclaims Sabrina, and she starts to run off, but Vesta grabs her. Sabrina hasn't seen anything yet. She tells Sabrina to open another door that leads to the Hall of Gratuitous Praise. Vesta opens the door to a group of people applauding and throwing compliments to Sabrina. Sabrina is flattered and now feels really good about herself.
That doorway is not a wish fulfilled in my mind. I don't know about you, but yeah, I like a compliment, but also I don't know what to do with it, and I would like it to stop when a compliment happens. And so for a gazillion people to be doing that, that's nightmare fuel.
These are not Skye's wish-fulfilled doors.
Yes,
These
I'm
are
just
Vesta's.
relating it to, I guess, the type of person Vesta is. Not a socially awkward millennial who just can't.
So behind your door would be somebody saying, yeah, that's good, I guess.
It's all right.
I think you could have tried harder.
Just Ron Swanson behind the door, just staring, saying I could do better. Or just a nod. If I could open the door and have Nick Offerman / Ron Swanson just nod at me in approval, that's all I need. Firm nod. Or a firm handshake.
Vesta points out the other doors, a 24-hour mall and a restaurant filled with ooey-gooey slimming desserts, and a room filled with gorgeous single men. Sabrina wants to take a peek, but Vesta stops her. The men know Sabrina's here, and the longer she keeps them waiting, the more they'll want her. And just everything about this is a giant what?
I don't know if that one aged well.
Sabrina is 16 years old, freshly 16 years old. There is a room of single men that want her.
I mean, I think there's a couple what moments in this episode.
And then they know she's here, which is weird, but you have to keep them waiting because they'll want you more.
Go into the room with the bears, Sabrina. Choose the bears.
What?
What indeed?
They don't know how to process that door. I mean, I would be fine with that. Well, I don't know if I'd be fine with a room full of single men, but, we'll leave that door alone. They say they'll save that room for later, but Sabrina says she's only here for the weekend. Vesta says they'll see about that, and then zaps up a plate of bonbons. Zelda walks into a room and is surprised at what she sees. There are boxes and a janitor with a cart. Not boxers, and the janitor might be wearing boxers. We can't see that. She asks the janitor if she's in room 107, and he confirms that she is. She says there's supposed to be a lecture here, but he points out that it would be kind of crowded in the closet. She asks if he knows anything about a Super Collider conference, but he doesn't. He's always the last to know. Zelda pulls out an engraved invitation that says 107. The janitor asks who it's from, and she says the visual engineers for the study of theoretical activity. The janitor asks why they don't shorten it to Vesta. Understanding dawns on Zelda's face, and she is angry. Vesta. I like the janitor's dolphin poster that says "Take time to giggle," which will be our third piece of merch. We're just gonna have a merch line from this episode alone.
Yep.
Take time to giggle, dolphin poster.
While you were hyper-focusing on the dolphin poster, I was hyper-focusing on that traditional handsaw hanging on the wall behind the janitor, which is a wood-cutting handsaw, and I just don't know why a building that is established, probably not having construction, would need that type of handsaw. There are other handsaws that would make more sense in a janitorial purpose, as far as a plumbing handsaw. A whole variety. There's a whole wormhole that I won't go into more than I'm already going into. But
why stop at this wormhole?
Right. Needless to say, props department, that's not the right kind of handsaw unless he's secretly a serial killer, which there might be several on this show. So killer, number 3, because Hilda, Harvey in the Skin, janitor.
Okay, but what if he builds bookshelves for the offices? Would he need that kind of a handsaw then?
I wouldn't use a handsaw like that to build a bookshelf. Or maybe he plays it. That is the type of saw that you can bend to play and make music.
Oh, it's that kind of a handsaw.
Yeah, it's it's a ridiculous saw to have in your closet.
Could you cut through PVC pipe with it?
Not well. That's why there's plumbing handsaws.
I'm really trying to come up with a reason, but I don't know enough about saws or cutting things. Maybe he does play it. Maybe he has a weird talent.
Maybe. I also feel like this isn't the first episode that Zelda's mentioned conferences about Super Collider. So back to my conspiracy theory. It's all Zelda's fault. She did it. She combined those atoms eventually, and now we are in this dimension.
Hilda plays violin with her string trio at a racetrack. Cars zoom loudly past. Zelda comes running up, yelling her name. Hilda asks what she's doing there, and Zelda tells her that Vesta set her up and that she set Hilda up too. Hilda says she wonders why they booked a string trio at Daytona. Just then we hear a screech, then a huge crash, and flames light up the trio. Then a tire comes rolling by. Zelda says there's the big finish and tells Hilda it's time to go. Hilda says fine, but Vesta's trick backfired. The trio just got booked at the Indy 500, and Hilda is wearing, I believe, the same outfit she was going to wear on her date with Drell. So I'm glad she still got use out of that dress. Oh my gosh, I forgot about this tangent. Okay. I think this may be the longest tangent of them all.
You planned this tangent?
I may just read the Wikipedia page on this tangent, depending on how much you want to know.
Oh, I know where we're going. Okay.
Sorry, not the dress tangent. This is a new tangent that's coming up. Everybody, just buckle in.
Keep listening to hear our next tangent.
Sabrina is reading on a couch in the Pleasure Dome while Vesta dances. Vesta asks what she's reading, and Sabrina tells her Jude the Obscure. Have you ever heard of this book, Skye?
No.
I've never heard of this book, so I looked it up. It is a novel by Thomas Hardy, originally published in 1895. It's about a working-class young man. He is a stonemason who dreams of becoming a scholar, but he is seduced by a morally lax and superficial girl who traps him in a marriage by pretending to be pregnant. I can see kind of the relationship to the Vesta situation where I don't know if Vesta's morally lax, but she does seem to be rather superficial, and she's trying to convince Sabrina to give up her studying and hardworking ways to have fun. How much more do you want to know about this book, Skye?
Well, I just added it to my Goodreads to-read list. I will take one for the team and report back. It does have a 4-star rating with over 73,000 ratings, so...
It goes even further. So this girl traps him into marriage, pretending to be pregnant. She's not pregnant. The marriage fails. She leaves him and emigrates to Australia, where she gets married again, and she's in a bigamous marriage now. At this point, Jude...
Isn't Australia full of prisoners at this time? 1895. No, it is no longer a prisoner colony. Sorry, Australia.
So anyway, so this guy pours himself as a mason, wants to go back to university. He meets and falls in love with his free-spirited cousin, Sue.
Oh.
But then he introduces her to his former school teacher, who she eventually marries, despite the fact that he is 20 years her senior. She regrets this because she's in love with Jude, and she is horrified by the notion of sex with her husband.
Oh dear.
Sue asks her husband for permission to leave him for Jude, which he allows once he realizes how unwilling she is to fulfill what he believes are her marital duties to him.
And this is the cousins, right?
Yeah, these are cousins. The cousin married his school teacher. She asked the school teacher to leave the marriage because she doesn't want to have sex with him. School teacher says yes because she's in love with the cousin and because he's mad that he won't sleep with her. But because he allows her to leave his wife for another man, he is ruined by scandal and has to give up teaching. Then the cousins spend some time living together without any sexual relationship because of Sue's dislike of sex and the institution of marriage. So, kind of forward thinking. Kind of modern. But then soon after, the first wife comes back, and the first wife and Jude finally actually divorce so she can legally marry her bigamous husband, and Sue is also divorced. But then the first wife reveals she actually had a child of Jude's, and then sends that child to Jude that he has not seen ever. I mean, there's like 3 more paragraphs on Wikipedia.
I'm so lost. I'm gonna have to read the book.
I didn't ruin it for you? You still want to read it?
I pressed want to read on Goodreads. I'm committed now.
Okay.
And I'm just so confused already that I feel like I need to read it to understand what you just told me.
I mean, there is a murder of 2 children and a suicide. What is this book? I don't know if I would assign this book to my 10th graders.
I mean, the initial premise, the first paragraph you read, I didn't think, oh, this is a metaphor for Vesta. I just thought, oh yeah, it's the 90s. That's the kind of book an English teacher would do by, being seduced by morally lax and superficial girl. I was like, cool, 90s.
Oh, I believe every joke, every throwaway line has a deeper meaning in this episode, as we have seen by the things that I've talked about. Okay, that's Jude the Obscure, everybody. They should make a movie. Maybe they have. I don't know. I'm not looking that up again on Wikipedia. Google's going to be like, we think you would really be interested in this book. You should buy it.
And then our next movie night would be a double feature of Space Grandma and Jude the Obscure.
Vesta asks if Sabrina wants to learn to do the Macarena, but Sabrina declines. She promised Hilda and Zelda she'd do her homework. Vesta is shocked. They need to talk. Sabrina asks if she did something wrong. Vesta tells her no, but it's her priorities. Her obsession with homework is getting in the way of her fun. Sabrina says she has to study. You can't have fun all the time. Vesta asks why not. Then gets Sabrina to join a conga line. They dance through the room, and Vesta asks if anybody wants paella. Zelda and Hilda come in and stop the conga. Sabrina runs back to her book. Welcome to Homework Land. Hilda tells the dancers to move along, and Zelda confronts Vesta about tricking them to get Sabrina to the Pleasure Dome. Hilda says the party is over, and Sabrina is coming home. Vesta says the rule is that now that Sabrina is at the Pleasure Dome, she can do whatever she wants. Zelda says, so that's your plan. But Vesta says she doesn't have a plan. She schemes. She wanted her niece to have a little fun. Zelda has heard enough and tells Sabrina that they're going home. Vesta says Sabrina is staying here. Hilda says she's coming home. The three aunts start arguing as Sabrina watches on. Finally, Sabrina stands up and asks if she can say something about her life. Sabrina points out that Hilda and Zelda never told her she could stay in the other realm. She didn't know she had a choice. All three agree that she does, and Hilda says that she'll make the right choice. Sabrina chooses to stay in the Pleasure Dome. She and Vesta start dancing again.
I have a hard time believing that Sabrina doesn't already know the Macarena because it came out 3 years previous. And I feel like preteens, it has to have been the jam.
I knew the Macarena at that age, and I would have been about 8 at this time. Wait, no. Yeah, 96. No, I would have been 10. I would have been about 10.
Elementary gym class, we had an entire session that was just doing the Macarena over and over and over again. Get with the times, Vesta. It's all the whammy fanny, nothing else. Also, with the conga line, one of the dancers is really into it, and then the other three are just like, yeah, conga. Woo.
Do we know if it's the same background dancer?
I don't think so.
Sabrina and Vesta are sitting together across from Zelda while Hilda paces, asking how Sabrina could choose the Pleasure Dome over high school. Wait, that didn't come out right. Sabrina asks them to stay too. They're having paella. Zelda declines. They have real lives back on Earth. Zelda starts walking off and tells Hilda to follow her. Hilda whispers that they can't just leave Sabrina here, but Zelda has a hunch, but don't look back. Hilda fights the urge to do so, and they leave. Now that the drama's over, Vesta tells Sabrina to hit the water slide, but Sabrina sits on the couch, confused. She thought Hilda and Zelda would toss around more can'ts and don'ts before taking off. Hilda and Zelda arrive back on Earth through the linen closet. Hilda asks Zelda if she's insane leaving without a fight. Zelda says she wants Sabrina to come home, and Hilda says she does too, so let's go back and get her. Hilda will hold Vesta. Zelda stops her. If they tell Sabrina she can't stay, they'll be playing into Vesta's hands. They're giving Sabrina the chance to change her mind. Zelda has faith that she'll come home. Hilda is impressed by this sneakiness. Zelda had a scheme. Well, Vesta is her sister. Hilda stops smiling. She wants a scheme.
Well, Vesta is my sister. Our sister? Question mark? Hilda's been kicked out of the family there. I'm also, do we learn how the linen closet travel actually works? Like, yes, it takes you to the other realm, but now we have seen 3 other realm locations. Is it just at the whim of the linen closet? This is the magic rules I would like to know.
I have no idea, honestly. I think maybe it like kind of reads your mind about where you're wanting to go. But then there's an episode coming up in the not too far future. I don't know if it's the next one where we'll have a linen closet travel that you can get a deeper dive on that one and figure out how that one works.
I will stay eagerly tuned in.
Vesta is getting a massage from a Fabio-looking man and making loud noises about how good it is, but there's one thing that could make it better. She snaps her fingers and switches places. Now she's giving the man a massage, which I disagree is better. I would rather be the one getting the massage. Come on, Vesta. Sabrina comes in saying she's exhausted. She rode the roller coaster, went shoe shopping, saw the Brad Pitt IMAX, which is this our like 3rd Brad Pitt reference this season.
Yes. Do we need a Brad Pitt ticker as well?
We can't track everything.
Or can we?
And she spent time in the hot tubs. Now she just wants to curl up with a good book. Vesta laughs and pushes the man on the massage table. Then we hear it crashing off screen. Vesta says they need to talk, and Sabrina asks if she did something wrong. Vesta wonders why she always asks if she did something wrong, and Sabrina says it's because she's a teenager. Vesta says she can't stay home and read on a Saturday night. She could be starring in her own rock video. All Sabrina needs to do is come up with a concept. Sabrina gets up and holds her hands up like a camera, talking about smoke rolling across the floor, dancing clowns, and her in a really great outfit.
Do you get dancing clowns when you think of the Whammy Fanny song?
No, but in the 90s, I don't know. There were some interesting music videos at the time.
Didn't we have like a clown serial killer in the 90s?
No, I think that was the 2000s. There was John Wayne Gacy John Wayne Gacy though was earlier than the 90s, wasn't he?
80s. 80s was a heyday for the slashing.
Yeah, John Wayne Gacy was in the 70s. He painted clowns.
Have we not learned our lesson about clowns then?
And then there were some other, like, in the 2000s, because this was, like, internet times, where there were, like, random people who would walk the streets in clown masks. And that was, like, do you remember that?
I remember. That was a weird summer.
It was
Which a lot of our summers can probably... Remember the killer bees?
I don't think they killed anybody. I think they were just creepy and just walking around being weird.
I question the choice.
Yeah, for sure. Just then the phone rings and a girl in a French maid outfit comes out carrying it. It's Jenny calling for Sabrina. Sabrina asks how she got the number and Jenny said her aunts gave it to her. It had the weirdest 17-digit area code.
So 90s, you still had to pay for long distance. So wonder who's footing that bill.
Oh, Jenny's parents, for sure. You didn't ask your parents if it was a short enough phone call. You just hoped they wouldn't notice it on the bill. Sabrina says she's visiting family in Canada, but Jenny thought they were going to a movie. Sabrina totally forgot and apologizes. Maybe Sabrina can get back, but what about her video? Vesta interrupts. Sabrina asks if Jenny can come watch, but Vesta pulls out her no mortals sign, reminding Sabrina of the one rule. Sabrina is disappointed and tells Jenny she's stuck there. Jenny says it's okay and that she'll see Sabrina. Unsure, Sabrina agrees, I'll see you, and hangs up the telephone. Vesta notes that Sabrina is sad and conjures up a puppy to cheer her up. Sabrina says she can't distract her with a puppy. She feels awful. Vesta hands the puppy off to another servant and asks Sabrina what's wrong. Sabrina just realized she'll never see her best friend again if she stays there, or any of her friends. Vesta tells her she can see them anytime she wants. They have super secret inside-a-vision.
Not creepy at all.
Which, my question of the day was going to be about who you would watch on Inside-a-Vision, but I don't want to talk about that. There's things I don't want to admit to. Or people I want to talk badly about that I don't want to do in a public forum.
I applaud your self-control. And yeah, that's not a wormhole we need to go down.
No, I figured the hats was the better intro question. The aunts are at their kitchen table doing another puzzle. Hilda is looking for Ringo's nose. Zelda has it. We pull back to see they are on a TV screen with Vesta and Sabrina watching. Hilda can't believe Sabrina doesn't think their lives are exciting enough. Vesta and Sabrina laugh at them, kind of meanly. Vesta says she can see anyone, anywhere with the remote. Sabrina asks to see Salem. He is in Sabrina's room, in front of her mirror, singing, Shake That Whammy Fanny, funky song, funky song. Vesta mocks his singing, and Sabrina is outraged to see squeaky toys all over her room, but Vesta points out that Sabrina lives here now. Oh, right. Sabrina wants to see what Harvey's doing. He's jumping on some furniture, also singing the Whammy Fanny song, in a black tank top and the quintessential 90s chain hanging from his belt. Sabrina doesn't want to see that. Which, like, what?
Fairly innocent right there. It's probably better than anything else.
As a 16-year-old girl, you don't want to watch the boy that you're crushing on super hard. I understand that his singing's not the best and that his dancing's a little embarrassing.
But if you watch long enough, you'd probably see Harvey fall off the bed and break something.
I thought we were going in a different direction.
No.
Okay. Sabrina says she'll check on Jenny even though she's probably out. The channel changes and Jenny is sitting on her bed reading Jude the Obscure. How pathetic, says Vesta. But Sabrina says it's her fault for standing her up. Vesta says they are in a guilt-free zone and it's time to get Sabrina's video ready. Flip to Vesta in a dominatrix-looking leather outfit. I don't know how to describe her outfit for this scene.
It's a very short raincoat and tall boots. And the hat. I don't know if it's quite dominatrix, but it's close.
She also has something in her hands that she's like kind of hitting in her hands that ends up being a microphone, but that's not what I thought it was at first.
Ooh, a pleather.
Very, very squeaky outfit.
Squeaky, and then if you sweated in it, it was just ugh.
Vesta says she's dying to see what Sabrina looks like. Sabrina comes out with crimped hair, long pleather gloves, high boots, and some sort of animal print dress. She doesn't know whether to get funky or go fly fishing. Vesta tells her she looks fabulous and there's no room for sensible shoes and rock and roll.
Once again, magical world. Surely by now someone's invented a spell to make the shoes comfy and still be fashion.
which especially if you can make a slimming dessert, you can make a comfortable, like, 10-inch heel. Sabrina puts on her mic and steps up on a platform. Vesta cues the lights, smoke, and action. Clowns come out and dance as Sabrina sings the Whammy Fanny song, and we hear the lyrics, "I got a chunky feeling hanging from the ceiling."
Maybe it's you're hanging from the ceiling, so your blood is literally going to your head. You're not going to feel good eventually, and you're going to literally blow chunks. Thus, a chunky feeling.
I want to know which writer on their staff was responsible for these lyrics.
You know, in the other dimension, they're getting mass royalties.
Oh, 100%. This is their Macarena. This is what they play at weddings.
You know, I would take this over the Macarena. If I could forget the Macarena and Mambo number 5, that'd be great.
You remember that. If you ever get married, I'm taking the mic and standing up and singing this song.
Oh.
And don't try to get away with not inviting me to your wedding. I will find it. I will be there. Even if it's a courthouse, I will come with a little, like, microphone boombox situation.
Oh, dear.
Vesta directs her to have more energy, but Sabrina eventually gets frustrated and can't shake it anymore. Vesta calls cut, and Sabrina says this is a mistake. They need to talk. Vesta asks if she did something wrong, but Sabrina says no, she did. She shouldn't be here. She should be at the movies with Jenny. Vesta scoffs and says that's ordinary. She could be a rock star. Sabrina just needs a trip to the Hall of Gratuitous Praise, but Sabrina doesn't want to. She wants to go home. She can't go. She'll be lonely without her. Sabrina says Vesta can come stay with Hilda and Zelda and her, but Vesta says maybe she'll just get the puppy back. Sabrina says she can still make the late show with Jenny if Hilda and Zelda let her break curfew. Vesta stops her one more time and conjures up her backpack. Sabrina thanks her and admits she had fun. The two hug and say ciao. Vesta is left alone wondering what now, and then walks over to the Hall of Gratuitous Praise and allows for the people inside to shower her with compliments. Shuts the door and says, so empty. But it works, and opens the door again before walking into the hall, which did seem a little creepy and uncomfortable.
Have you seen the movie Perfume?
No.
That's a wild ride. Basically, guy, probably 1600s, I don't know, has this amazing nose, is making perfumes, is a serial killer theme, and realizes that young women are like the final seventh note of it. Anyways, he makes the perfect perfume, kills Alan Rickman's daughter, I believe, and then there's this crazy scene where he dumps the perfume over himself, walks into the crowd, and they literally start eating him, because that's how great this perfume is.
You said eat him. Eat him
Yes.
live?
Yes.
That's not what a perfume's supposed to do. A perfume is not supposed to make you want to be eaten.
It's a wild ride, like I said, and some, like, walking into this adoring crowd just triggers some perfume memories.
Okay. I don't like that.
I mean, it's not a bad movie, actually. There's a lot of, like, allegories and metaphors that you can go into. Me and my friends in college sat and, like, talked about it for the length of the movie after the movie ended.
That's such a college thing to do, by the way.
Our fine arts degrees, putting them to use, dissecting the film Perfume.
Okay, well, I'm going to have nightmares about that now. Thank you.
Yeah, that was quite the tangent right there.
Apologies to any listeners in case you haven't had other nightmares from everything else we've talked about. Sabrina walks into her room and asks Salem what he's doing, then says she saw him singing in the mirror. No! Downstairs, Hilda and Zelda hear Sabrina and run back to their puzzle table trying to be cool. Sabrina comes down telling them that she's home. Trying to be uninterested, they asked what happened. Sabrina admits that without can'ts and don'ts, it's hard to know where the fun is. They admit it's nice to have her back and hug her as she says it's nice to be back. Sabrina asks if she can go out to the movies with Jenny. They tell her she can go, but she can't stay out past 1 a.m. and she can't wear those boots. Sabrina exclaims, I'm home, and changes her outfit. She thanks them for not making a big deal out of it and walks out of the door. Both start exclaiming, she's back, and throwing puzzle pieces around the room. Back to the movie time thing. She had to be in an early show for her midnight curfew, but she can go to a late show for her 1 a.m. curfew. That is a difference of 1 hour.
9 p.m. or 10 p.m. showing with time to drive home.
I'm just old and consider 9 p.m. also late.
Do any of them drive?
I don't think we've seen Sabrina get her license or get a car yet.
Maybe Jenny drives.
All right, we're almost there, folks. If you haven't turned off yet, we're in the end tag. Mr. Poole is still in his bathtub fighting the giant bug, stabbing it with a plunger. He grabs 2 canisters of air freshener, says, "Suck potpourri and die," while spraying the bug and diving off to the side. We have a dream sequence video effect, and Mr. Poole is lying on the bathroom floor holding the air freshener and dreaming. He wakes up and admits that sushi and Kafka don't mix. He sees another regular-sized bug and screams, "Bring it with the air freshener," as he scurries away. And one more tangent for me. Why does Mr. Poole have a large framed tiger photo in his bathroom?
Why not?
Single man decor, I guess.
I feel like suck potpourri and die with some fleeing bugs could also be some merch there. Also, I haven't heard of Kafka. Have you?
Yeah, but I want to hear what you think Kafka is before I tell you what it is.
I went down a wormhole trying to see if it was like a cocktail of the 90s, and all I could find was like it might be boba tea now.
Kafka refers to Franz Kafka, the novelist, writer of The Metamorphosis.
Oh, here I spent like 30 minutes trying to figure out what kind of drink a Kafka was. Oh, okay.
Are you familiar with the book, The Metamorphosis?
Um,
For those of our listeners who are unfamiliar with the book, The Metamorphosis, it's about a man who wakes up one morning to find himself transformed into a monstrous vermin, or basically a giant insect. Hence, the sushi and reading Kafka do not mix. He got weird dreams. That's what he's saying. It is not a cocktail, but I would love somebody to make a Kafka cocktail. I think that'd be fun.
It is now on my to-read list as well. See what dreams I get from these 2 books.
There's also, the people who wrote Pride and Prejudice and Zombies?
Yes.
They wrote a version of the Metamorphosis called the Meowmorphosis. Meowmorphosis or something like that.
Oh, that takes some more priority on my Goodreads.
Also, they wrote Android Karenina.
Oh, I have read that. I do on that.
And I think it's Sea Monsters and Sensibilities or something like that. How long is this episode?
Long.
You know what? If this episode does not make you want to tune into more, nothing can.
Mando last episode and this episode.
So much. Next episode is called Magic Joel, season 1, episode 8. Skye, do you have a guess what Magic Joel is going to be about?
Billy Joel is magical.
Oh, man.
Guest starring Billy Joel.
I wish that's what it was. Well, like, share, rate, subscribe. Only rate this episode if you enjoyed it, please. Share with your friends, listen to future stuff, download, whatever. Do the things to make us popular so we can pay off student loans. Email us at somethingwitchypod@gmail.com and follow us on Instagram at somethingwitchypod for all of your other thoughts, ideas, your own tangents to what we said. And until next time,
stay magical.
Shake your whammy, fanny, funky song, funky song.